We are live. Welcome everybody to I think what is it, episode 56 of Nina Goes Live, LinkedIn Straight Talk for coaches and creators. And today I'm super excited to have Katie here. Katie, I forgot to ask you how to pronounce your last name. Lantukh?
Lantukh, yeah, like you tuck your shirt in.
Oh, like you tuck your shirt in. Okay, I think we've had that conversation before. We met about half a year ago or so.
Yes.
So thank you so much for joining me today. I'm very excited to be talking not just about LinkedIn, about messaging, about getting that part straight. Because if that doesn't work, nothing works in your business, right? So it's one of the most important aspects that we need to focus on as small business owners and as service-based smaller business owners for sure. Because it's easy when you have a bakery to say, like, I sell your favorite baked good, right? Like that's a great sales pitch right there. But for service based, it's a little more complicated.
Right.
Katie, why don't you give us just a 2 sentence, 3 sentence introduction to who you are, and then we'll get started.
Yeah, thank you so much. I care a lot about helping experts reach more of the right people. And I find that when experts try to be really comprehensive and complete in, how they introduce themselves or how they're communicating their brand, the audience isn't sure where to focus. And so I work one-on-one with people to break down their different ideal customer personas and the message that they each need to hear in order to buy from you, to refer you, or even to think about you months down the road.
Yep. Great. So nailing that messaging such that we don't spend 3 hours trying to explain.
That's right.
Yeah. It's like to explain to your mother what it is that you do.
Exactly.
Which mine I think still doesn't know what I do, but I actually am not sure whether it is because I'm not saying the right words or because she's not listening.
Right.
Probably a combination of both. Anyway, so one of the questions I love asking right out of the bat, because this is a LinkedIn centric show and we are on LinkedIn. Why for you? Why LinkedIn? What attracts you to LinkedIn?
It's a few things. One, I think my ideal customer is in the B2B professional services space, and those people are just on LinkedIn. Those are the ones that are using it. So audience makes a lot of sense to me. I do love social media, and I love that this one in particular lends itself to more writing. And I don't always have to post a perfect photo to go with it. And so I like the flexibility that I can maybe lean on emojis one week, or if I have a photo, I can use it. But like Instagram, you must have imagery. And my business is not always the most visual. So I think for those couple of reasons, it makes a lot of sense for me.
Yeah. And by the way, just because I'm sort of into the deep into algorithmic truths these days, never two text only posts in a row.
Okay, that's good to know.
Doesn't like that. So text only is fine, but intersperse it with an image. Okay. I always if I don't have an image, my go-to is a quote card. Just take one of the more important sentences from my post. They're all important, of course, but the one that I can think of that could be more important than the others, and put that into the quote card. And then that sort of solves the issue of not having a graphic and having something that, it sucks to like basically another hook, right? To suck to people reading your post. Yeah. So that's how I solve that. Great. So when I introduced you, we had 3 areas that we were talking about that, are in your sort of purview of expertise, and all 3 of them sounded really interesting. So you were talking about how to use your customers' words on LinkedIn as your content. So I have 4 questions around that, but just explain the concept to us first and foremost.
Yes. So in general, I think as the expert in whatever field you are, as the person inside the milk bottle, you know exactly what you're talking about. It's so clear to me what messaging is. I'm breathing it, living it every day. But I notice that not everyone understands. And so I think that's often true for other disciplines. And so we need to listen for maybe how they express, how they introduce you. If you're at a cocktail party, they're like, this is my friend Katie and she does X, Y, and Z. I'm like listening for how they're putting it in their own words.
Yep.
And then that's the signals that I'm testing on LinkedIn. So it may be surfacing the pain points as they express them and not what I think their pain point is. It's almost like they went to the doctor thinking I have a headache, but really I know that they have a headache because of X, Y, and Z.
Right. But you're using their language because
Exactly.
that's what so you're the headache doctor to them, not the neurologist.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes, yes.
How do you go about, like, so if you work with your clients, and we just talked about this before we started this call, that you love doing these VIP one days, which I always love because then you're done.
Yes.
On both sides, right? As client as well as expert. How do you unearth that quickly enough? Like what is the process that you employ, or you ask do your clients need to come prepared? How does that work?
It's a little bit of both. So leading up to our VIP day, I have kind of a series of really easy, small homework assignments. So questions that they need to fill out ahead of time, things that they should be thinking about or kind of mulling over, some things that they can email back to me, or just that they could journal or think about on a walk. It doesn't have to be like polished or anything. I just want them to like get the juices flowing. And then when we're in the session together, I'm asking a lot of questions, kind of getting to pull together like those pieces. So it's usually never the first answer that people give me. It's like, oh, well, why do people call you? And they're like, well, because they need a new website. And you're like, okay, cool. How do they know they need a new website? What is not working in their business that they think the website can solve? So you're kind of taking them down a path of like, it's almost like you're pushing on all the buttons to see like which one lights up. And then when we're not in the VIP, like in the day container, I also offer, like, I'm so willing to call their clients and ask them questions about, why they chose to work with them, what else was going on in their business, really get that true voice of their customer. Because then we can literally use like their actual words. And oftentimes what their client is going to say about them, they might not say directly to the person they're working with, but they would maybe to an outsider who's just, curiously asking questions.
Yep. That's true. Very true. Yeah. I mean, that makes me think of me like, oh my God, I should have all these conversations with my clients. Like, but again, I think a third party asking the questions is definitely a smart way of doing it. Yeah.
Yes. Either way.
And then, so now we have the words of our clients, and we are assuming that if one client has those words, others will too, right? That's sort of a clear assumption. And then, so it's basically a case of give them what they want, not what they need, as a first step, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. Does the conversion happen still in the copy before they buy, or is that something that happens after they've bought and you go like, okay, so what you really need is?
That's an interesting question. I think most of the time when I'm posting on LinkedIn, it's a awareness activity and it's a nurture activity. And then when people feel like they understand what I do and what problems I could solve for them, then they're like, okay, this is my problem, or I think I need messaging. What do you think? And so it becomes a conversation. It's almost like the content is the lead in.
Yep.
And an invitation to those further, like more nuanced conversations about what they're going through.
Yeah. So LinkedIn would really be a place where you're looking to attract people that are aware of their problem but don't know yet how to solve it for the most part, and are considering you or a couple of other people.
Yes, there's that. And I also want my LinkedIn content to educate my referral partners. So the other people that I want to introduce me to the clients that they have a front row seat to, I want them to know what I do and how and when I can come in and be helpful. And oftentimes it makes their jobs easier.
So that actually brings up a really interesting question, which is something I just saw you posted about on your LinkedIn feed very appropriately. Um, Different messaging for different audiences, right?
Mhm.
So we all like, oh, I finally know what I do and I know how to talk about it. But hold a minute, like we've got the clients and we've got the aforementioned mother who needs to understand what you do if she wants to listen, which is
Mhm.
just from personal experience there. But then we also have the referral partners. We have the employees or future employees. We have, if you are a nonprofit, we now have donors or we have volunteers. So there's all these layers
Mhm.
people that need to understand what you do. How different or how nuanced are these conversations? Because I mean, especially now, I'm digging deep into referral partners. My referral partners want to get something completely different out of me, and I'm starting to wonder, like, is my messaging correct or appropriate for them
Mhm.
that my future customers do?
Yes. It really varies on what product or service you're selling, but I'll take an example. So I'm working with a software solution company, and they want to serve folks in the financial industry. And their tool is helpful for a bookkeeping firm, an accounting firm, a financial advisor. And then they also have other B2B professional services referral partners. So we broke down different messages for each of those so that with their if they're in a conversation with a accountant, the way that the accountant for accounting practice interacts with their tool is slightly different because they need different information from their clients than the financial advisor and then the bookkeeper.
Yeah.
So we're almost putting in different keywords in a way, or different, like there's a slight nuance to the problem that they're solving,
Mm.
but at the end the solution is the same. But the problems they're solving and the outcomes they're experiencing are slightly more nuanced and specific for each of those audiences.
Mm.
um, but then for the referral partner, for example, their message is more general because we want them to be able to make the introduction for any of those people, so we make that one more of a general state, like a generalized statement for those things.
Yep. Yep. This is for the referral partners.
Exactly.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting. And then how do you mix this all up on LinkedIn? I mean, so you said that you are also talking, you're not just talking to your ideal potential clients, but you're also talking to your referral partners on LinkedIn. I mean, you're not going to start a post and say, "Hey, referral partners, listen up,"
Right.
or make, So how do you weave that in, or wait, how does that work in at your end?
So most of the time, I am writing with my ideal buying customer in mind.
Mhm.
That's the picture in my head of the person that I'm writing to. Um, but in the same way that if you're going to make a school website, you know that kids are going to go to the school, but parents are the ones deciding, right? So you need to think about, even if a student read this website, it needs to make sense to them. And
Mhm.
so we want whoever reads my LinkedIn post to put the priority on my ideal customer or the student, but knowing that there are other people who need to learn what the
Mhm.
values are, what the value I provide is, what problems I solve, so that they can imagine, like, oh, that's actually happening in this organization and they need this help.
Yep. Yep. Yeah, so it's basically like there's leveled information
Right.
speaks to a common denominator, so to speak.
Hmm. Hmm.
Is it like those
Yes.
Disney movies? And I don't have children, but sometimes I am being dragged into some kids movie, and there's always that level of the kid level, but then
Yes.
there's that level of grown up jokes that are sort of woven into where I'm like, haha, this is actually really good
Yeah.
stuff.
Yes. Yes.
So so
That's
it's
a great analogy. That's
yeah.
exactly right. Mhm. Yeah. And I think other ways that I would and have expressed that I see the referral partners out there is like explaining how I came to know this client, or like
Mhm.
kind of tell a story around a relationship, or like they worked with them first, they came to me, and then now they're off to the development partner. And this is so amazing, like
Mhm.
painting that picture of who are the people in the daisy chain that we're all kind of working together for this client's behalf.
Yep. That's brilliant too. So the above stream and the below stream. Yeah. Yeah. I love that. That's great. So where in all of this does a Venn diagram come in? Because you mentioned that in your introduction. So
Yes. I think about that a lot when it comes to the personal stories that I write, and the ones that I write on behalf of my clients as well, is thinking about what your ideal customer values
Mhm.
and where that overlaps with your like genuine personal values. And if you have a larger organization, then that would be your company's values. So, for example, I worked with this cybersecurity and IT firm, and their whole team is former, they all served in the military. And a lot of their ideal clients are government agencies. So, like, country and family are very important to them. And
Mhm.
so that's oftentimes what she writes about on LinkedIn. It's like, we were at this community event, or we gave like to this specific, veterans benefit or something.
Yeah.
And so those are really clear connection points. I think a caution I would say is I'm noticing now a lot of people are using the word value as, or like a value that you have is almost a code for like a political stance. And that
Mhm.
is not what I mean. Like, unless that is literally your business, I don't think this is not the place for that. And I
Mhm.
think the values that we want to surface are, is it family? Is it adventure? I have another friend whose ideal client is like a solo entrepreneur. And so they really value that, like bootstraps,
Mhm.
um, rags to riches story. And so those are the stories of her own that she surfaces. And it resonates so strongly with her audience.
That's fascinating. I love this. So for instance, could a value be, because like I mean, of course, I'm always thinking about my own
Yeah.
business. So I attract people my age
Mhm.
ish. So late Xers. I'm not a boomer, but I could be if I was born like 2 months earlier. So
Mhm.
so boomer X's. They value their privacy, but they still need to be out on LinkedIn,
Mhm.
so or on social media or on websites or on video, or like all things that don't innately come. It's like a millennial was born with a phone and selfie mode in their palm, but to my generation that is not an easy transition often.
Mhm.
How would that tie into the messaging?
Mm. I think it would be really interesting if you told stories about how you've overcome that, and maybe how you kind of discern which stories are appropriate for public and which ones you don't talk about online.
Mm.
Because if people can see how you think about your privacy in this scenario, I think that will give them permission to do the thing you're encouraging them to do, but it'll also build a lot of trust because they'll say, "Oh my goodness, she's dealing with the same things, and I
Mm.
really appreciate and value how she's thinking through it."
Interesting. I do both of those things, interestingly
Mhm.
enough, but I never did them um you know with purpose behind it, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Well, and
yeah.
that's how you know it's authentic content. Like, it becomes natural.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's both part of my origin story, but yeah,
Mhm.
it's really interesting. Okay, good. So I'm doing the Venn diagram is really where is the intersection of what my customers value
Or care about,
and
maybe a better way to say that. Mhm.
care about, yeah, what I care about. And
Mhm.
the third one is just like what the company cares about, or is that is it two Venn a Venn? I don't know. I'm not too familiar with Venn diagram.
Yes, yes, yes. I sometimes think about just 2 circles, like what you care about and what your customer cares about on a human level, but I
Mhm.
think the 3rd circle is what your business needs to sell. And so then if you need to have a more marketing or sales oriented piece of content, then I would think, okay, that's a smaller part of the pie, but there are going to be overlaps. If you're building a business that's like genuine, there will be an overlap in what you care about, what you've created, and what they're ready to buy from you.
Yep. Yeah. I love that. That is so, so powerful. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
And I know that my current membership will love a conversation like that. So that's really cool. So that brings us to a total pivot here. So LinkedIn, has an algorithm, has several algorithms, as a matter of fact, and LinkedIn's has actually shifted really massively in the last like 6 to 7 months, and the new strategy for getting into other people's feed and being recommended by LinkedIn outside of your own community, because that's the game, right? We all want to get outside of who we know already, is no longer based on who you're connected with. So it's going from a social graph to being an interest graph, meaning what you write about.
Yes.
With that comes also a solid commenting strategy is now not a nice to have, it's a must have. And it's actually more important than content creation, which I find really scary. But so commenting is like the most important activity that you can be doing on LinkedIn right now. Ideally, commenting on the comments that you're being, as I'd like to say, gifted from other people, your posts, but also going outside of your immediate community, of your comfort zone, and go. Not that I would use the word doom scrolling for LinkedIn, but go on the feed looking for people you don't know that say interesting things, and then start commenting.
Yeah.
So you had talked about how commenting is like improv, and I just want to hear a little bit more about that, and I have some thoughts about it too, but want
Yeah.
to hear what you have to say.
So I am not a comedian myself, but I think this is so interesting. So I think about kind of the rules of improv, and I apply those to how I like to comment. And so kind of the three main pieces are like, was it Jason that said this yesterday about the yes and? So in improv, you'll notice that they try not to do anything that like halts a conversation. They try to like keep the ball rolling. So that's what we want to do in the comment section is how do we add something to the scene, or like add a thought or connect to something that you did or that you notice, or do with your clients. You just want to keep that momentum and flow of the conversation going. And it's almost like a game that I play to see how many like responses can we get. And it depends on how often people check LinkedIn, and it's totally fine if it's only a few, but that's the game I'm playing, is like, how can I get them to keep responding and keep this conversation engaging enough that they want to keep this rolling, right? The second rule of improv that I think about is like, it's a partnership. You want to make the other person on the stage look good and to keep the audience entertained, because if you shut them down, then the show's over. Right. So I think one way to do that in commenting is to, elevate the original poster. You could say, wow, I love how you framed this. I've never thought about this way, or I'm excited to try this tomorrow, or something that kind of like, builds them up. And the second way that I don't see a ton of people doing, but I think it's so smart, is to introduce or elevate someone else who isn't yet in that conversation. So if that post made you think of someone, or a conversation you had, I try to tag those people and like rope them into this conversation. Because I think it's better for everyone if there's more people at the table talking.
Absolutely. So I really love those. The funny thing is that, to your first point, which is keep the conversation going, again, algorithmically speaking, so just purely mathematically, posts with more comments than likes are considered much higher value by the algorithm than not.
Mhm.
And it particularly, being the algorithm, favors long tails of conversation. So if you have those sub conversations under a comment, so in
Mhm.
a way, it's not just a great way to be engaging and continue a conversation. It's also a wonderful way to support the person who's written the post by
Mhm.
giving a serious leg up.
Yeah.
Um, and then I think, and I love the the partnership, the uplifting. With I think, however, I would always distinguish between just doing sort of the AI thing where it's like, I love how
Yeah.
you blah blah blah, and just rehashing what was in the post. I think it's really important
Yes.
to add. It's an addition. It's not a rehash,
100%.
right? Yeah,
Yeah.
sure. So what Jason was talking about in our LinkedIn roundtable that we do quarterly was that he was talking about improv as well, just in plain terms of yes and or yes buts. Those
Mhm.
are sort of the two mechanisms that you use in an improv scene to, as you were talking about, continue and not end the show.
Mhm. Mhm.
And just alone that advice I thought was so interesting, because what I love about it is, as simple as it is, it does several layers of things, right? I love the yes, because the yes tells me this person has listened and they're validating what I said
Mhm.
and they're adding to it positively in by adding. I mean, I wouldn't give it a value of positive or negative, but either by adding something to it with the yes and, or by taking a left turn and bringing it in
Mhm.
a new direction, which innately doesn't have to be bad. It can be very interesting and very valuable with the
Mhm.
and yes but. So I kind of like both of you taken together. I think that's just brilliant commenting strategy, because sometimes you're sitting there, especially if you're commenting on third people that you don't know,
Mhm.
don't have context because you don't know the people. And I always need high context on everything I do. Um, then it sometimes can be hard. And then, it's like, oh, do I need to now ask AI to help me with this comment? And I always try at all costs to avoid that. I do on occasion when it's totally out of my area of expertise. I'll ask AI to help me and then I'll rewrite it myself, but at least
Mhm.
know what I'm saying. But I love the idea of making it easier and quicker for people to comment in a positive way.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah.
And then do you tag? So so one thing to remember is when you are doing a longer comment thread to always at mention the person who's the author, so they get
Mhm.
the notification that their conversation is ongoing. Tagging, do you find that tagging, again, you said it depends a little bit on how often people check their LinkedIn. I've on occasion had somebody like, text somebody, say like, hey, you need to check this out. And I'm like, need to check this out what?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So if I feel it's not too intrusive, I'll jump in and say, this is about blah, blah, blah. You might find this interesting.
Oh,
But
that's a good idea.
yeah, how much do you find that people are actually reacting to tags, though, in general?
Um, I think I can speak for at least my profile and the people that are either tagged on my things and I tag. I think that's a pretty high response rate.
Mm.
And maybe the caveat is I think I'm in a circle of really active LinkedIn people. So maybe there's like a grain of salt to be had there.
Yeah.
Because I know some of my clients, they'll check it once a week, maybe. And I'm like, we need to do more. So
I
I'll watch for them and I'll send them a message. I'm like, hey, you need to go look at these comments.
I know. I've been there, done that, which is
Mhm.
one of the reasons why I don't do one-on-one. I love everything group. I love sort of that community energy and the, sort of moving forward as a unit in a bigger group. That speaks very much to my to
Mhm.
how I function. And I mean, your one-on-ones sound amazing, and I'm definitely thinking about it. But, or actually I should go like this because you're sitting to that side of me. But I also feel that I'm always in awe of people who do really deep dives with one-on-ones.
Mm.
It's certainly not my forte. So Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, I had a whole bunch of questions, but I feel that we kind of touched on everything just in having a conversation.
Mhm.
Um, um, two last questions that I have for you, and I always say there's last questions, and then I'll think of something else. But what is your biggest LinkedIn pet peeve, or if you had one, what would it be? Let's put it up.
Mm. I don't love when people add me and then immediately try to sell me something. Like I want to go on a date first.
I so agree with
So,
you.
yeah.
Sometimes I write back and say, "How's that working out for you?"
Well, I used to say like, "Hey, I actually do this for a living. Like, can I give you some feedback?" And I would give like really, and I'm like, they don't want it. They don't
Yeah.
want it. They're not going to use it. And so I just like, I mean, sometimes I'll remove the connection request because I'm like, this isn't a relationship. Like this is, I'm a lead to them. And I
Mhm.
know that that's true, but I don't want to feel like that's true.
Right, exactly. But it's also, I mean, sometimes I'll be like, "No, thank you. I'm not your target audience," or "Thank you for
Yeah.
thinking of me, but this is not for me."
Yes.
And
Yes.
and on occasion, I've written saying like, "I don't have a fucking clue who you are, and no, thank you." I mean,
Right.
you're selling me a $10,000 thing, like, invite me
Out
to
the gate? Like,
yeah,
no.
or even a call out of nowhere. It's like, no, it's just not happening,
Yes. Yes. Can we
Um,
jump on a quick call? I'm like,
no.
no, I don't know you. Gosh, so forward.
I know, but it's like, yeah, it's like, asking you to marry you before
Yeah.
on the first date. Those days are over. But I must tell you, in the old days, which is like only about 6 or 7 years ago,
Right.
I mean, we bought into these platforms where, you would set up a whole sequence, and then we were on Sales Navigator, and we would do the max we were allowed to do a week, like 100 people, 200 people, whatever, a cold intro. And then even if they would write back no, the software wasn't smart enough to distinguish yes from no. So the moment you responded, no matter how you
It
responded,
didn't matter. Yeah.
barrage of like all these other messages. And sometimes when I go into my LinkedIn history and I look somebody up, and they're part of that history, but it's now 5 years later, I'm like, cringe. Oh my God, that was awful. I was like, can I delete that? Like, it's really
Back,
terrible.
back, back.
I know, but back then, DMs weren't
Yeah.
that pervasive yet.
Right.
When you got a DM, you actually were excited. It was like getting mail in the mailbox that is not a bill, right? It was exciting, and those
Yeah.
things are long over. So yeah, for sure, for sure.
Yeah.
Um,
What's your big pet peeve? I'm curious.
oh, there's such a long list. I would say what you just said definitely is up there too. One thing that really drives me crazy, because again, I'm helping people to be better on LinkedIn and find
Mhm.
their true people, is when people put a lot of, I can tell they're putting a lot of, sweat, blood, and tears into a nice post, and then they don't have a CTA.
Oh, mhm.
It's like, tell the people what to do. Also, an engagement question is a call to action does not mean it's being salesy, right?
Right.
It can, I will never, ever post without asking an engagement question, because
Mhm.
unless people engage with me, I don't know who they are. And if I don't know who they are, I cannot have a conversation with them and
Mhm.
eventually ask them out on a date, right? So
Mhm.
it just, that drives me absolutely bananas. And then the other thing is when people have blocks of text that
Mhm.
I don't even engage. I'm like,
No, my
sorry.
brain like blue.
Yeah, exactly. Yes, that. And the list goes on, but I would say those are the top ones that piss me off. Yeah.
That's awesome.
And then in that vein, what would be your biggest advice, or advice for the biggest mistake that you see happening on LinkedIn? What would be your your biggest or best advice?
Um, I think the biggest mistake is not trying LinkedIn and not giving it the good college effort because you hate the DMs that you're getting. I
Mm,
think if I just look back on the last year, I've literally made two amazing friends on LinkedIn. Like I
mm,
did not know them and I found them on LinkedIn. And one of them, our daughters played on softball team together. Like, she's local.
Oh, wow. That's so
She
cool.
took my photos for my website, and now we're friends. And then the other, I've now seen her in person a couple of times, and we're planning again in February. Like, I'm so pleasantly surprised at the true relationships that I found on this platform that previously was for resumes. Like, it's so magical that it's something so much more now.
Yeah, it sure is. I find that, like, also when I put people into the groups where they support one another with their posting, it's so wonderful to see how people just like blossom. They're like, oh my God, there's a whole community here of like-minded, wonderful people who all have great things to sell and great things to talk about. And it's the first time when a lot of people who've been sort of, ditching it around on LinkedIn and not quite sure what to do with themselves. Like, they've been standing at the party at the far off center, and all of a sudden they're invited into the core group. And it's like, oh my God, this is so cool. Right. Yeah, I love that. I really love that. And talking of the pictures on your website, I absolutely adore your pooch.
Oh, thank you.
Such beautiful pictures. And I think it's a great replacement. And talking about privacy, right? No pictures of your children, because a lot of people don't feel comfortable with that, and I think that's super understandable. But the dog is a dog is a dog, right? So, like my little guy, who always leaves the room when I start talking on Zoom, or he's like, oh, mommy's at it again, and he picks up his little hiney and walks himself into the living room. And that's a nice thing to talk about when you're trying to sort of keep your privacy, but yet be a human, a three-dimensional human being.
Yeah.
Hobbies are great, sports are great, dogs are great, travel's great, right? Those are
That's
good
right.
things to talk about. Yeah. Excellent. Well, Katie, thank you so much for your time. This was really informative, and I think I learned a lot. So, and I hope so did the audience. And I look forward to seeing your content ongoing. I did really enjoy reading. I mean, obviously, you're just a phenomenal writer. So, I encourage you all to check out Katie's feed. It's really good stuff there. And we'll be back next month with another edition of Nina Goes Live, LinkedIn Straight Talk for coaches and creators. Everybody have a great day. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Nina.